Good morning and welcome back, ladies, gents and Pikachus, to another analysis and breakdown of the Quran of the Muslims! It's like He-Man, isn't it? I have the power of Quran! So, we're going to continue breaking this down verse by verse, turning those verses into factual, logical English statements, reading them as a summary so we can figure out who is Allah, what is the plan of Allah, and what does Allah intend for you and me and the rest of the non-believer world, and more importantly, what does that mean for us in our lives today? So, if you've been keeping up with this series, which I hope you have, otherwise you'll be punished. I'll cut your head. No, I won't really cut your head off, but I hope you've been keeping up. If you have, you will know that we've been going through Sharia, which is Islamic law. The law that is applied to Muslims while they're completely fucking ignoring the law of the land they just invaded, i.e. our laws. We went through what happens when they kill someone, who gets to keep the stuff, and most of it goes to the mosque. When they die in battle, who keeps their stuff? The mosque. Then we went through a bit of Ramadan and how they relax after they've got back so they don't end up killing each other and ransacking each other. And the end result of that was Allah's watching you. Allah knows, so don't even fucking think about it. Don't do anything Allah hasn't told you to expressly do. Otherwise, you'll be in shit and Allah won't love you, you'll be a pervert, and He will basically punish you very strictly. So, with that in mind, let's carry on. 139. It is no crime to take of what Allah has made as a bounty for you as your Lord when you are making your pilgrimage, so long as you offer your blessings upon the Mount of Arafat and celebrate the praises of Allah and His cube. Whatever ye has transgressed previously to this, Allah will forgive if you worship Him as directed. So, this is a little bit less violent than the last one, but I feel it's very important that we really understand what Allah is telling His troops here. And I say troops because I think we know at this point, this holy law is not necessarily for the worshipping. This is instructions to His invading force how to get in and out of the enemy territory without embarrassing Allah, and what is going to happen to the loot and the spoils of war. So now this is how to behave when you're off on your pilgrimage to Mecca, that like 99% of people won't be affording to make and won't be doing, but those who are doing it have to follow these rules. So that's why he says, it is no crime to take of what Allah hath made as a bounty as your Lord when you make your pilgrimage. So if I'm reading this right, it is not a crime. So what the implicit thing here is, what you're doing is actually a crime, but because you're doing it for Allah, it is no crime to take what Allah hath made as a bounty. Oh, I get it. So anything you steal on your way to Mecca, because you're travelling through foreign lands to get to the Islamic land, while you're travelling through the foreign lands, anything you steal or plunder isn't a crime, because Allah made it all as a bounty for you, you know? Allah's just put all this stuff here, and these other cultures and other towns, they're just there for you to plunder. Allah put them there as part of His plan so that you could worship Him and get the money for His mosque, which you are heading towards, your pilgrimage to Mecca. Then he carries on. So long as you offer your blessings upon the Mount of Arafat and celebrate the praises of Allah and His cube, whatever ye has transgressed previously to this, Allah will forgive you, as long as you worship Him as directed. So, I think, I was right about that. What Allah is saying here is, O Muslim, while you are on the way to Mecca, anything you steal and pillage and take, it's not a crime, as long as you give it to Mecca. Remember, Allah wants that money, and that's how it's going to come back into Allah's hands, is you're going to pick it up by stealing on the way to Mecca, then you're going to drop it off at the cube, at the Mount of Arafat, which is where the cube is located. And after you have done this, when you have done that, when you've paid all your money back to Allah at His mosque, whatever ye has transgressed previously to this, Allah will forgive you if you worship Him as directed. So remember, yonder Muslims, get on your knees and bow and pray. If you're not worshipping enough, off with your head, you're dead, you're in big trouble, and by the way, you have to give all your money to the mosque. As we know, Allah is very greedy, loves His money. If I didn't know better, I'd say He was a bit of a fucking Jew. I can say that, I'm a Jew. I have the Jew card. Let's continue. 140. Go back, having done this, to your regular abodes, and ask for Allah's forgiveness before returning to your duties as your Lord commands. So, as we know, it is not a crime, O Muslim, for you to steal things on the way to Mecca because you're giving them to Allah. But anyway, He still wants you to ask for His forgiveness when you get back, even though you stole it to give it to him, and he told you it's not a crime, go back home having done this to your regular abodes and ask for Allah's forgiveness before returning to your duties as your Lord commands you. So before you go back to your mosque and go, Allah, Allah, Akbar, all that stuff, you got to beg for forgiveness first. And the thing you're begging forgiveness for, because it's literally the only fucking thing that you've done, is stealing from the traders on your way to Mecca and then giving all the money to Allah. It's what it says. I didn't write it, Allah did. Allah said that. It's in the book. If you don't believe me, read it yourself. Let's carry on. 141. Then you must celebrate as your fathers did before you, ye with far more heart and soul. When the greedy Satans say, give us your owed bounties, you tell them they shall have no portion from Allah, nor any peace now or in the hereafter. So I feel like this could do with a bit of breaking down. There's a few new words in there. This is another one of those examples where Allah is just bunging you new stuff that you don't know about and expecting that you're just going to understand it. And obviously, if you don't just understand it and you have any doubts or questions, you're not a good Muslim. Off with the head, you're dead. Either that, or he's going to punish you in the grave when you get killed naturally, because you're not following his commands, which means he won't protect you, which means you will die and it'll be your own fault, and then he'll grave torture you. So anyway, now that we understand that, let's break it down. Then you must celebrate as your fathers did before you. So when he says fathers, I feel this is a bad translation. This is not talking about your father as in your parents. This is saying your fathers as in your mosque fathers, your imams. So you must return from your pilgrimage, beg for forgiveness for what you just did, even though you didn't do anything wrong and it wasn't a sin and it was only stealing to give to Allah. It's still, you have to get forgiveness. After you do that, you have to celebrate as your imam fathers did. Ye with far more heart and soul. So they're old, they're trying to celebrate the best they can, but they're not doing their due diligence, they're not worshipping him enough. So you have to worship him with more heart and soul than those old codgers did. Otherwise, you're not worshipping Allah. Do you understand? Do you understand this? You're not worshipping Allah properly. Get to the fucking worship. That's what this means. And then he finishes off by saying, when those greedy Satans say, give us your owed bounties. So basically, if you owe any money to anyone who's not a Muslim, and they ask you to repay the money you borrowed, or to pay off the thing, your tab at the bar, or like whatever it is, that's the Satans. By the way, the greedy Satans are almost certainly Jews that he's referring to here, because they would have been the ones who lent you the money, O Muslims, who you're now going to kill and rip off in your righteous slaughter that Allah has commanded you to do. So when the greedy Satans say, give us your money, owed brothers, no, you tell them they should have no portion from Allah, nor any peace now or in the hereafter. So those evil Jews, those greedy bloody Satans that are stupid idiots have lent you money, they're idiots and they deserve what they're going to get. We're going to kill them. Rah, rah, rah. We get all that bit. But we've also got a new bit. You shall have no portion from Allah. So what that's saying is you'll be poor for the rest of your life. Allah's not going to give you shit, you evil Satans. And then, nor any peace now or in the hereafter. So you're not going to have any peace now, even though I just borrowed money off you, O Jew, and I'm a Muslim. I'm not going to pay you it back. You're never getting it back. Allah hates you. And by the way, you will not have any peace now. So I'm going to attack you now or in the hereafter. So if you manage to get away, I'm going to chase you down and fucking kill you. And if you run away to another country, I'll be waiting. I'll come and get you. Jews are dead because Allah said so. That's what this is saying. I'll carry on. 142. Others will say, our Lord, meet our needs here and in the hereafter. Save us from confusion, torment and fire. These men will so keep their bounties they have earned, and Allah is quick to hold account for them. Now that's interesting, isn't it? So I wonder if you picked up on the little subtleties of Allah's trickery here. So he starts off by saying, this is after the Jews have said, can you pay us that loan back that you borrowed, you know, to go on your Mecca pilgrimage? You obviously didn't have enough money to go, so you came to us Jews to borrow money. And we said, well, it's a bit risky. We're going to do an interest rate for you because you're probably not going to pay it all back. So, you know, it's a risk for us. You agreed. You shook their hand. You made a bargain, by the way, Muslims. And I'll refer you back to an earlier verse where Allah said, keep to your bargains and deals, Muslims, even though you're fucking not doing it here with these Jews. Then you borrow the money off the Jews. You go on your Mecca pilgrimage. When you get back and tell them to fuck themselves, you're not going to pay them back. And by the way, you're going to kill them. And if they escape, you're going to chase them and kill them then. After that, others will say, our Lord, meet our needs here and in the hereafter. Save us from confusion, torment and fire. We're now talking about the Muslims who have killed the Jews, and the reason they're having to beg to Allah to save them is because they're in a foreign land. So they've just killed a bunch of guys. Now the police are going to be after them. Plus they have no money because they just killed the guy who was lending them money. So they don't have anything. So that is why I think that others will say, "Our Lord, meet our needs here," because their needs are now not able to be met because they have no money to borrow and they just killed the guy who was the local trader. "Meet our needs, O Lord, and here and in the hereafter, save us from confusion, torment, and fire." These men will so keep the bounties they have earned. So what they're saying is, once you've killed these horrible Jews who you borrowed money off and then ripped off, rob their bodies, that is your bounty that you are allowed to keep. And Allah is quick to hold account. So even though you've just robbed this Jew and we're saying you can keep it, don't forget to give your bit to the mosque because Allah is watching you. I'm watching you. So that's what I think that means. Obviously, it's not very well defined. So I could be wrong there, but in conclusion, our Lord meet our needs here is Muslims saying to Allah, after they've killed the traders, please meet our needs in the hereafter and now, save us from confusion, torment and the fire. The confusion is like, what the hell do? We just killed this trader. After we take his money, that's it. No more trader. And save us from the fire means, don't send me to hell, Allah, because I'm definitely going to give you the part of this money that belongs to you. And then Allah, in his grace and mercy, goes, yeah, you can keep those bounties, you've earned it, even though you just killed that guy after lying to him, stabbing in the back. You can keep it anyway, as long as you give Allah his bit, because Allah is quick to hold account. You see, again, Allah is all about that bag. He needs that money. Allah is very needy for money, and you are the guy to give it to him. That's what this means. 143. Remember of Allah during these days and to the end times days. Those who are intent to do Allah's Quran commands shall have no blame. Fear only Allah and know ye will only be gathered back to him. End of verse. So, what does this mean? Let's break it down. After you've done all that bad stuff, you know, you've come back from your Mecca pilgrimage, you've given all your money to the mosque, you've made your way back, you've gone over to the trader who lent you the money to go on the pilgrimage, you've killed him because he was a Jew, you've stolen all his money, you've given it to the mosque, you've kept your little crappy bit that Allah has, in his grace and mercy, allowed you to keep. And what you have to remember after that is, remember Allah during all these days. While this is all happening, don't forget your worship, don't forget the commands of Allah who is your Lord, don't forget to do your worship. Now and to the end times days. So what he's saying is, remember the end times genocidal prophecy. I know we haven't been mentioning it, O Muslims. We've been going through all this other stuff. You've been off on a Mecca pilgrimage. You've been raping and pillaging towns and then coming back and paying to the mosque and everything else has been happening. Don't forget, the whole fucking point in your life is this. Allah's commanding you. Don't forget the genocidal end times prophecy where we go and kill all the Jews and tell them it's their own fault and then we make the world accuse them by accusing them of lies. Don't forget that. That is why you're doing this, the pilgrimage and everything else. It's all because we need to go and kill those fucking, evil Jews and they're Christians. And that is Allah's command. So don't fuck around with it. Do it. Don't forget. That's what this means. And that's the end of our reading. So in summary, I feel like this is another one of those passages which it's kind of not really that relevant. This is just more meat on the bones of what we already heard. But it's just to let you know, while you're off on this pilgrimage, it is no crime to steal from people on the way because they're not Muslims and they have no value and you are a Muslim and Allah has made them as a bounty for you to collect. That is what Allah is saying here. He's saying the rest of the world, nations, cultures, religions, people, man, woman, child, whatever, unless they're a Muslim, unless they're worshipping Allah and doing all this, they're not worshipping it enough, and that means go and kill them, steal their stuff, it's cool, it's not a crime. No harm, no foul. As long as you give your blessings upon the Mount of Arafat and celebrate the praises of Allah and walk around the cube and give him all your fucking money, then it's okay. And remember, you must celebrate as your fathers did before you, so don't be a bad kid. Your fathers did this. Your imams in the fucking mosque are doing this. If you don't do this, you're going to be the first one to fuck it up for the whole tribe, and Allah won't love you. That's what this means. So in conclusion, this whole thing is just more of the same of the last one. Allah needs your money. You will give Allah money. You will get this money by robbing people and killing Jews and taking their money and giving it to Allah. You can keep a little tiny bit of it, but not a lot of it. And by the way, while this is all going, don't forget the genocidal end times prophecy, which is the point of this whole book. End of reading. So, that's the end of it for today. Hope you really enjoyed that and you learnt something. Later on, we're going to be going through some more of this Sharia Islamic commands on how to conduct yourself as a grave robber and a caravan thief. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this for now. We'll be back at 4:15 with more. Until then, take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Give us back our money now you have been to Mecca. And Allah said, no, fuck you evil Jews, I'm keeping your money and I'm gonna kill you and it's righteous. And that's all for today, so God bless and I'll see you next time.